Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today, I'm going to tell you why I hate horoscopes and but why I do them anyway. I thought that this would be a fun piece of content. It's a concept that I've had in mind for a while over this over this summer, as I have created horoscopes more really in this year of 2025 than any other year as a YouTube content creator, and what I've been reflecting on about what I like and don't like about about horoscopes in general. So anyway, I hope that you will find this entertaining and maybe an opportunity to get to know me as a content creator a little bit, get to know the process behind the process, right? Like why am I doing certain things on the channel? What am I exploring or experimenting with? A lot of which happens in real time, by the way. When you're making content 5 days a week, year round, you've been doing it for many, many years. A lot of what you end up doing and experimenting with is on the fly. It doesn't happen in a lab somewhere. It happens. This is the lab. So yeah, I've been wanting to do an episode like this for a while and share more of myself in this way. So I hope that this will be fun. And by no means do I want to make anyone feel bad if they like horoscopes. And that is why I will tell you why I dislike horoscopes, but why I also do them anyway. So hopefully no one will feel too alienated by this. Anyway, that's my agenda for today. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers on the channel by next summer. So your subscription means a lot. Your thumbs up every day, the likes, the comments, all really helps us. You can find transcripts of any of my daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Not to be confused with Nightlife Astrology, which sounds like a dance club. People sometimes call the school Nightlife Astrology. I always find that just kind of funny. Just like people have called me Alan for years, even though my name is Adam. Anyway, Hilda's back, and you may notice that she hasn't been in the room for a while. That's because it's getting cooler here again. And during the summer, the office is super hot in my house because it's above the garage. And she comes up here when it gets cooler out. So it's cooler out. She's like, okay, now I can relax in your office again. Because people are like, where is she? Anyway, whatever, I'm rambling. Go to the events page, click on Immersive Retreat. We are over halfway full for our retreat next June in Mexico called the Oracle Within. This is a fantastic retreat. I can't wait to lead next year. It'll be our first retreat in a very long time, since 2014. So take a look at that. There's an early bird rate that lasts until early October. So you have some time to sign up and save when you do so. The other thing that's coming up is if you go to the live talks page of the website, you're going to see that in September on the 25th, I am giving a talk on Mercury's planetary pairings. This will be the first in a series of talks I'm doing on the traditional planets paired with every other planet, which really allows us to get to know planetary combinations. This is really good when reading aspects in charts or when understanding how to read planetary pairs in a client's chart. What does Mercury behave like, for example, when Mercury gets with Pluto, to Neptune, to Uranus, to Saturn, to Jupiter, to Mars? So we're going to be exploring those planetary pairings starting with Mercury in September, doing a talk on the second house in October. So if you register for those talks, you get the recordings always if you can't attend live. So I hope to see some of you there. All right. Year one registration coming up soon in the next couple of weeks. The registration process, I'll begin promoting the upcoming year one program, which begins again in September or November. So, okay, well, let me give you some background that I think might be good context for me telling you about why I don't like horoscopes. First of all, in the past year or two, I have been actively exploring new forms of content on the channel. A lot of them, a lot of different things I've tried. And actually, I've tried a lot of different things for years. You'll always find that there's some, whether it's the Tao Te Ching for astrologers, the Hermetica, Bhakti Wednesdays, the Grabbed series. There's always something that I'm playing with or exploring. Recently, I did a reaction video to System of a Down, and that was the first of that kind that I've ever done. So there's always been a part of me that's pretty experimental, trying to find new forms, series that are interesting, the Planets in Profile being another example. So I've always been experimental. And then there's always this question of what is the most consistent, and regular content that really draws people in, that draws new people in. And that's a tricky question for content creators in astrology, at least for me. The reason for that is that you want formats that are accessible, and a lot of the most accessible content are horoscopes. Horoscopes are something very universally appealing. You don't have to know a lot about astrology. You don't have to be intermediate or advanced. You could be a total beginner. You could know nothing more than your sun sign or maybe your rising sign and pick up a piece of content from YouTube, listen to it in your car ride, get a little sense of what's happening in your life. And so there's always been for me a very basic understanding of the benefit of horoscopic content, which is why I've always done horoscopic content. I've never not done it. But it's about how much of it have I done and why or why not. So one of the things you'll hear me talk about today is the fact that one of the main reasons I find it really beneficial is because it has a way of building a bridge into helping people develop, like from beginner to more intermediate or advanced. And also the deeper content of my channel may not be as immediately interesting or as accessible for people when they're first finding a channel as some of the horoscopic content may be. So I consider horoscopes kind of like a gateway drug. For the kind of deeper content that I like, it's nice to have some bridges. And also it's nice for some people who may not be interested in the deeper philosophical content to have, something that's just a little bit simpler, easier, more accessible. It could be more superficial. That's definitely one of my complaints about horoscopes, but people may just want something that's not as, philosophically, archetypally complex. So all of those are reasons that I've always done horoscopes. But there are, like, this year has been really interesting for me. There were a couple of things that happened that were very unexpected, and I just want to be transparent about them because I think it's interesting to share this part of my life as an astrologer and content creator with the audience. I find that level of reflection upon what I'm doing as a content creator and an astrologer a valuable share. Like if I were out there and I were a student of astrology, a professional developing in astrology, these are the kinds of things that I would really value hearing that honestly, as I was coming up, I didn't hear much of. So that also leads me to reflect in these ways that I really, truly hope you find useful. Not that you even necessarily need to agree with all of my conclusions here, but okay, enough said. So what happened was, I don't know, it was somewhere, I want to say it was like March or April. There were a few videos on my channel, like sequentially within a couple of weeks that went viral. That's not common for me. That's happened, throughout my YouTube career. It's not like it's never happened, but it's most videos 5 days a week as the channel grows have a proportionate amount of viewership, right? Like they usually land within the same realm. Some videos are really popular. They might spike up a little bit, but within a comfortable range of expectations. And, again, following the subscription numbers over the years. So that's just part of being a YouTube creator. And I think most YouTube creators know exactly what I'm talking about if you are one. But what was really interesting was in the spring, as Pluto was coming really close to the midheaven in my charts. You have an Aquarius 10th house. So Pluto's entrance into Aquarius coincided with moving into my 10th, and the entrance of Uranus into Gemini, starting to trine that from my 2nd to 10th, has had me becoming more innovative and creative with ideas about, what I'm producing, what I'm making. That's a part of my business, my career, my life as a creative and an astrologer. So one of the things that started this process was there were several videos that I did, and they were absolutely in no way designed with the intention of trying to get a viral response. I know that there's a whole art that exists out there to doing such things. I am not aware of what that art is. I've never been interested in it. I just try to create what I like, and wherever it goes is wherever it goes, and that has been successful for me as much as success as I am. I'm not like jonesing to get, like we set goals, like let's try to get to 100,000 subscribers, or let's try to get to 80 or whatever along the way. But it's been hard for me to even develop. Like I had a social media manager that came on and was like, you could say, give a like and a thumbs up. You don't even do that. It's like, there's like pieces of me that have had to grow into this part of marketing the channel more than I usually cared about for years. some of those things have been truly helpful. But what was really trippy about this was that there was this rise of subscribership and success. I'm talking, the average new subscribers in a month is usually between 600 and 1,000. Every month, there's like that many new subscribers, and that's pretty typical for this channel. What happened was we had 10,000, or I think maybe even 15,000 new subscribers within like 2 months. And I just want to be honest. It like really freaked me out. It just totally tripped me out, man. I was like, what is happening? It was so unexpected, and it was exciting. But also very much like the shadow of Pluto. And this is just me being honest. I started thinking, okay, I've got all of these people who are coming in because of this sensational content. Like there was a video I did called something like it was Sun and Saturn and the death of the sun, or something like Saturn is dying, or I don't know what it was like. But I was talking about the synodic cycle of the Sun and Saturn, and I just creatively titled it without any intention of going viral. And there are all these people here. And I suddenly started creating the pressure in my own head that I had to deliver content that was reflective of a new wave of people that were suddenly on the channel for a type of content that I was imagining was appealing to them. I know that sounds really stupid, because you're probably like, Adam, come on. Why would you fall victim to such shallow thinking? But I did. It wasn't calculated like some overlord, like how can I get likes, or it wasn't like, it was just this very like this feeling of pressure that I have to, there's all of these new people here at the channel, and my deepest intention is to bring depth, sincerity, sacredness to the archetypes and to the planetary transits week by week. That has always been my intention, because this is my spiritual practice. It's sincere in that way. But there was this pressure that was very subtle, very invisible to me, like very Plutonian in that sense, like very unconscious. And it started pushing me to make more and more horoscope content until Uranus entered Gemini. As soon as Uranus entered Gemini, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was like, I feel like I'm not myself anymore. Something about the direction that content has gone in for me isn't feeling authentic. That's not to say every piece of content. I'd say probably 75% of the content that I was creating still felt like me. I'm turning the archetypes. I'm exploring philosophically. I'm trying to create depth and sincerity and humor and reverence and awe. And we've got the what's on my altar. And I'm, but like the some of the content, I just started, it's as though something that wasn't totally aligned just started coming in. And I was like, so over the past couple of months, as Uranus entered Gemini, I started trining Pluto. It's been remarkable how I've started to like recalibrate and go like, oh yeah, I can't fucking do this. I can't do these fucking horoscopes. So I'm here today to tell you, to be honest with you, about why you're not going to see as many of them on this channel. That doesn't mean you won't see any. And I also, in sharing this, like I want to be funny and candid and real with you about why I, as a content creator, cannot keep doing as many horoscopes as I've been doing. But I also want to tell you why they won't vanish entirely and what I actually see their value as. And so you'll still get monthly horoscopes from our team, which I think are great. You'll still occasionally get some horoscopes, reminders of which houses things are falling in. And it's not like horoscopes will vanish entirely, but somehow the amount of horoscope focused content that I started creating this year was out of some kind of personal or creative alignment for me. So I thought, I'm going to tell you why, rather than you just seeing it change, because isn't that a unique opportunity for me? I love hearing anyone I'm listening to talk about their creative process as a creative that I admire or appreciate, whether it's a writer, a podcaster, anyone. I just appreciate it because I'm a creative person. I enjoy hearing about things behind the scenes. So here are the 5 reasons that I hate horoscopes and why I do them anyway. All right. So, and please feel free. I give you full permission to be like, you're a dick. You're an asshole. But it's like I'm in midlife, right? And there's something about midlife archetypally, I think, where you sort of have to stop. You're either going to do something really stupid, like buy a car or, externalize some act of rebellion in a way that's really not productive psychologically or spiritually. Just having seen lots of people do that in my counseling practice and like, yeah, it doesn't seem to really address things. Or you're just going to start being really honest about who you are and you're going to curate less of yourself. And there's a process that you have to go through where you have to stop worrying so much about the social calculus. And I think it's very like Uranus opposition moment. Boy, I could tell you some really interesting dreams that I had during the peak of my Uranus opposition. They were so like, it was amazing. But anyway, that's another story. So 5 reasons that I hate horoscopes, why I do them anyway. Feel free to disagree. Don't hate me. Don't hate me just because I hate horoscopes. All right, number 1 is the transaction trap. So let me just explain it like this. I don't like horoscopes because, and this is not on you, this is not on any of you who like them, okay? This is just me. I don't need you to feel bad or guilty or I'm not, it's just me. Horoscopes put me into a psychic space of transaction. If I make these people horoscopes, this is me in my own mind, I will get clicks, I will get likes, I will get subscriber spikes because I'm delivering what I'm being expected to deliver. I feel every time that I record a horoscope, and the fewer times I do them, the better it is, because then the more I do it, the more I feel this way, like I'm selling out, like I'm cheapening astrology into a marketable commodity. And that what I'm doing is amplifying everything that I don't like about astrology in the larger industry. That's just how I feel. I can't help it. If I make beyond like a certain threshold of making horoscopic content where I say, okay, Aries, I start not liking myself and I start resenting an imagined humanity that's out there consuming it. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And so, but I think that this reveals my own shadow. I have to be reflective about this. In fact, you wouldn't believe how many times I've brought in my production as a content creator into my weekly Jungian therapy that I see. I've seen a Jungian therapist for years because if I'm going to hold space for people, if I'm going to be something of a space holding psychological interpreter of symbols, then I better be talking to someone. That's the way I see it. So I've brought this into therapy many times and explored the shadow of myself in this dilemma. There is a part of me that craves approval and fears being irrelevant. And it's somehow when I find interesting ways of doing horoscopic content that allows me to feel good and creatively satisfied in the way that I find of doing it, I think I bring healing to that part of me. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like this particular challenge that the oracular, the oracle or the gods of astrology have given me. Like, yes, you feel like horoscopes are transactional and it amplifies this part of you that also craves approval and fears being irrelevant. And yet when you work that tension and find creative ways of doing horoscopes that feel good to you, there's something in you that heals. I can't explain it, but that's one of the reasons I keep doing it. It's like a particular challenge that I hate, but I like. That's the truth. Just telling you the truth. Number 2 is the weather channel illusion. From my perspective, horoscopes risk reinforcing the idea that astrology is a causal science, like turning on CNN and looking at the weather or the weather channel, and it's predicting rain, or it's predicting snow, or it's predicting high winds, or smoke from the fires, or whatever. But to me, the sky is symbolic. It's not mechanistic. It's a mirror, not a machine. And so when horoscopes tilt into prediction, it bothers me because there's a whole predictive side of astrology that I value deeply, but something about horoscopes is like reinforcing this not so healthy myth that the constantly streaming horoscopes and transits are like spiritual CNN Weather Channel. And this can make us think that all of these things are like influences and causes. And in my view, they're not. In my view, the sky is a mirror. So the temptation that we have to avoid something of ourselves that is in that mirror happens through constant horoscoping. The stars did this to me. um, the temptation is to externalize something that the sky is actually trying to get us to look inward at. And to me, there's something about horoscopes that too much horoscopic content reinforces that. So the kind of content that I really enjoy, the kind of astrology that I really enjoy, is reflection upon interaction of symbols that allows us to participate, reflect, that allows us to see the sky as this living, moving mirror that's mirroring things that are happening. And it has the magical ability to mirror things that will happen in the future. I personally think that time, linear time, is just a tiny fragment of the truth. And so there's bigger conversations for me around time, space, and what prediction actually is. But that's a deeper conversation. The problem that I have is that I would prefer to combine planetary archetypes and symbols and reflect on them philosophically, symbolically, mythologically, metaphorically, and to bring that active form of reflection like a kind of astrological prayer into the living of life. Whereas I feel that there are uses of prediction that are very specific and appropriate. And I teach all about what I think those are and how they enter my practice and all the programs that I lead year round. But there's something about the constant making of horoscopic content that to me starts reinforcing this kind of broad delusional weather channel, astrology as weather channel idea that I really think it becomes like toxic to the field of astrology and to people consuming astrology after a while. I know it becomes that way for me. However, the reason that I keep doing them anyway is because even if we are thinking of astrology as a spiritual CNN weather channel or something like that, I would rather that and people being invited through that metaphorical paradigm into an enchanted cosmos than feeling alone and in a disenchanted, dualistic, like objectified cosmos. So I see value in it, even if I feel that the paradigm of the spiritual weather channel is only sort of partially true, that there's something much bigger to me is very important. And one of the reasons that I struggle with horoscopes, but there's also like, there's a lot of value even in thinking of astrology like a spiritual weather system. So all or nothing thinking is part of what I face in myself with horoscopes that is a worthy challenge. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for me to be dogmatic about things. And so there's something about this struggle with horoscopes that I can't walk away from because it asks me to be more flexible than I often prefer to be. Anyway, number 3, the dumbing down dilemma. Horoscopes to me often feel like diet astrology. They're far less precise than the kind of work I like to do in natal charts. I know a lot of people have said that before. You've probably heard that before, and you probably know that yourself. I catch myself thinking, though, this kind of content makes me look less intelligent, makes me look less serious, makes me look less skilled. And often I literally can't get out of my own head thinking that while I'm actually producing the content, to the point where there's someone in me sitting back being like, you faker asshole, this is all stupid. Why are you doing this dumb shit? Like, as I'm doing it. And I have to like manage that. And I hate doing horoscopes because of the like jerky cynics on my inner committee that sit and shout at me while I'm doing them. And I wish that I didn't have such voices inside of me. I'm embarrassed. Sometimes I'm ashamed of them. You know, I can't say that they're the most constructive voices, and yet they are there. So that means that making horoscopes brings me into an encounter with them that's not very comfortable. I don't want to appear superficial, but that's some of my arrogance speaking, right? I don't want, so horoscopes are this other reminder. Jeffrey Cornelius was the first person I ever had heard say this. And he said, not every divinatory act has to be lofty. A sun sign horoscope appearing in, 200 words in a magazine or a newspaper can be directly from the gods or from the oracle. So I know that people out there sometimes feel like somehow magically, unbeknownst to me, a horoscope could speak so specifically, so magically, so medicinally to the soul. And I know that's true. But somehow creating horoscopes, I have to face this thing in me that's like, this is dumb. You're not dumb, so don't do this because it's dumb. And then I have to overcome that voice. Does that make sense? And realize that, like, no, magic, beauty, medicine, healing, guidance can come through anything, even this form that you feel like is dumb. And it kind of is dumb, okay? Oh my God, this is so much fun. I'm so happy I did this. All right, next. The repetition rut. Well, here's the thing, and this is probably just me because I'm sure there are some horoscopic creators out there who just don't deal with this at all like I do. I am someone who does not, because I talk all the time here as a teacher, as a reader, I talk a lot. You'd be surprised at how quiet I am outside of this. I am very stoic, very introverted, very shy, and I don't talk outside of this particular space in my life. Unless I'm with good friends, and I'm laid back or whatever. But I have always had this problem in my head. I attributed in my chart to maybe Mars and Gemini. But I don't like teaching the same. Like, one of the reasons that I absolutely have to teach all of my programs live and I can't do recorded versions of my class that people just consume. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I can't do it because I always am finding new ways of understanding the same things in astrology. Robert Schmidt told me that I should consider this a gift, a gift of Hermes. He said that you're driven by the desire to learn the same things over and over and over again. And the evidence of it is the need to say all of the same concepts, but find new ways of saying them. That was a great compliment for me from someone who was a short-lived in my life, but very powerful mentor in Robert Schmidt. I don't like horoscopes because they lean heavily on house topics and house specificity. That's just a truth of horoscopes, which leaves me often feeling very like horoscopes are rather formulaic and cliched or creatively draining, because I struggle more than any other part of astrology to find new ways of saying things when it comes to horoscopes, because they tend to be the most effective when they are focused on the house topics. That's just the nature of horoscopes and the way that they work through their whole sign setup. And whether it's sun, moon, rising, the transit is usually the transit and the house. And I am just not good at this particular format when it comes to finding new and creative and interesting ways. And I also attribute this to the fact that I don't find them interesting. And how interesting can you be at doing something that you yourself are not interested in? You know what I mean? So that's a dilemma. At the same time, this is true. My girls are interested in things I find kind of psycho. Like all the little toys and all this stuff. But if I show interest in those things, I'm showing interest in them. And I care about my audience. I really do. I don't mean to sound so condescending about horoscopes. I'm just trying to convey what I actually feel about them. But I know that if I take a genuine interest in what a good amount of very good, wonderful people out there like about horoscopes, and I take interest in them, then I counteract some tendency in myself to feel like this is transactional, this is dumb. No, the problem is I struggle with finding new and interesting ways of engaging with this form because I don't find it interesting, but because other people do, and I want to love and connect with people through astrology, then I find the challenge here, right? It's like, okay, I can find more interest in myself, even if it's not natural, I can generate that interest and lean into it a little bit. Just like, lots of things in life. Your partner, you're not going to like everything they like, but how far does it go if you show some genuine interest in the things they like, even if they're not natural to you? That is a really hard challenge for me, but it's one that I like. It's one that I value. Growth hides in discomfort. I do these to challenge myself, to stretch the form, to experiment with my voice within the form, to get better at something I'd otherwise avoid, and to counteract the feeling that they can only be formulaic, cliched, creatively draining, and uninteresting. And guess what? I've learned that they can be more. One of the things that I innovated with this summer that I love, and I will probably continue doing when I do horoscopes, although again, I've decided I'm not going to do quite as many as I've been doing. Just been a simple recalibration for me. I really like doing sacred images. I could meditate on a horoscope and come up with something that was an interesting image to pair with the transit. That was really fun. Okay, so that's the repetition. Number 5 is the sensationalism snare. I feel that horoscopes in the broader field, not necessarily the way that I do them, I don't think, but in the broader field, they can veer toward cosmic gossip. By that, I don't mean that there's we are interesting, you are interesting, and it's interesting to know what's going on. I have no problem with that. What I mean is like a gossip column, something that is shallow and vapid and just encouraging of like a shallow level of information assertion and judgment and attachment, as opposed to substance and insight and thoughtfulness and curiosity and humility. So I don't like that, broadly speaking, so many horoscopes out there participate in what I feel is a fostering of a kind of new age self-help narcissistic streak that exists. And I can't help but just call it like I see it. I don't. So will I meet my soulmate this week? When is the best time to do this to get money? I mean, all of that kind of astrology to me is so far from what the earliest mystics who were practicing astrology said the purpose of astrology was. I've said so much about that on this channel. I won't go into it again, but left unchecked, I think horoscopes foster attachment to outcomes rather than curiosity about meaning. This, in turn, agitates a harsher part of me, impatient, judgmental side that, I'm being honest here, there is a part of me that I just don't like people. Just like, fuck people. Isn't that terrible? Oh man, no, I'm mostly kidding. But there is an impatient, judgmental side of me that does not like humanity's shallow thirst for quick, stupid answers. That is a very arrogant part of me, and it's a part of me that I'm not like comfortable with. I don't want to live from that space. And yet horoscopes bring it up. They just bring it up. And so that's why I keep doing them. I won't get rid of them, because they ask me to soften, to meet people where they are, that every search for answers, no matter what level it's occurring at, no matter where it's coming from, even a sensational one, is also a search for the sacred. It is. And I know that. I know that in my heart. And so, as you can tell, this is like a little battlefield within me around horoscopes. I just wanted to be honest about it. Some of the innovations that I've been really pleased with this year include the sacred images. I had another one I did where another innovation this year that is kind of horoscopic, but not horoscopic. And this has felt really good to me. My 5 things to watch for, I have been expanding into 5 things to watch for in 4 areas of life that correspond with the 4 angular houses. To me, this is this was an interesting innovation that I came up with. It was like, what do people love about horoscopes? Well, people love hearing how an archetype of a transit is going to interact in a specific domain of their life. Like, where is this going to show up in my life? And so then how does the archetypal transit of Venus Pluto show up, in my life? That's my horoscope. But honestly, the four cardinal houses, the four angular houses of the birth chart and the topics that they include tend to be at the heart of all horoscopes, right? So, selfhood and relationships, work, earning power, direction in your career, private home and family dynamics, living situations, those four angular house topics really are often what everything in horoscopes are focused on anyway. And so I thought, well, what if I did my list of 5 things to watch for, but spun them into these 4 areas so that you had the inner psychological, the relational, the work, and the home and family, and 5 things to watch for within each of them. I know that some people have struggled with that format, whereas I would say overwhelmingly people have been giving me positive feedback about it. But that's an example of an experiment that I've been playing with where I'm like, how can I include something that's a little bit more horoscopic that I know there's a lot of people that really like, while also acknowledging that if I do as much horoscopic content as I've been doing, I'm going to go mad. So, oh my God. Anyway, so those have been some innovations. For sure, we'll always have our monthly overview of the transits of the month and the monthly horoscopes with a focused horoscope for the month. I really like those. And it's been fun for me to bring in some content creators to help build their platforms. That's given me a sense of meaning and purpose to pair with the horoscopes that has really lightened the psychic load for me in terms of all the struggles I have with them. And I think occasionally just peppering in, like, this is a huge transit, let's do some horoscopes on it, makes sense to me. But I need to be honest and tell you exactly why you saw horoscopic content sort of spike on the channel. And if you see it recede a little bit, not disappear, for all the reasons it won't disappear, but why you might see that pull back a little bit, that's why. Also, I kind of miss just doing 5 things to watch for. It's fun to have 5 things to watch for in the 4 areas of life, and I'll continue doing that too. But I, I also just sort of miss doing the straightforward 5 things to watch for. So yeah, look, it's an ongoing process of creativity. I've really enjoyed throwing in what I have on my altar this week on Mondays, but I've decided rather than trying to break down all the transits at the beginning of the week, I'll tell you what they are, what the content focus will be for the week, but then we'll start with the first transit of the week on Mondays. I just like that better. A weekly overview, just trying to break down all the transits of the week in a quick video like that I just didn't like it. So we'll tell you what's to come and what the content will be like on Monday, but then we'll have our first transit of the week as our focus on Mondays. I'll still tell you what's on my altar, and I'll still give you brief reminders for whatever planetary transit of the week is like the loudest. I'll probably give you the rising sign horoscope correspond with the angular house placements. I think that's been kind of fun too. That's been really easy for me. So I don't mind doing that. Anyway, so that's a look behind the scenes. I hope that you valued it, found some humor in it, and that it can clarify for you, like, what if you're an astrologer, if you're a content creator. I think hearing about people's creative processes, I'm not trying to indoctrinate you or tell you that you need to see or think about everything in exactly the way that I do, but I do hope that this is it's creatively stimulating for your own process, whatever that might be as an astrologer. All right, that's it for today. After I sign off, there is an informational video about the retreat next June. I hope that you will be able to make it out. We're about halfway full. Early bird rate is until early October. All right, that's it. See you soon. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm really excited to tell you more about the Oracle Within, the retreat that we'll be hosting in Mexico in June of 2026. So this is a little informational video that I've made to answer all the questions that you might have about the retreat. In this video, I'm going to start by telling you more about what you will learn on the retreat, what the focus of our studies will be, and then I'm going to tell you about our daily format and sort of what day-to-day life will look like at this retreat center outside of the actual material we'll be studying. I'm going to then tell you who this retreat is ideal for, what kind of background you may want to have before coming along. And then finally, I'm going to tell you more about how you can register. And of course, I'll take you over to the actual retreat website page so that you know where all of the information is located. There's also a really rich FAQ section that will probably answer any further questions you may have. on that note, let's start with what will I learn? So, for a very long time, astrologers have talked about what astrology is. What is this? Is it some kind of karmic science? Is it a science of causal energies and influences? Is this actually scientific? Like, what order of knowing is astrology? If we say we can know something about reality, then how can we actually say that when it comes to astrology? These may seem like really deep, dense philosophical issues, but actually, they're at the heart of what it means to really deepen into astrology. To have an understanding of what this actually is so fundamental and so helpful. Throughout all of the programs that I teach at Nightlight, I, of course, talk at length about my belief that astrology is a form of divination, that this is a language of signs and omens, very much like the tarot or the I Ching or many other systems of symbolic divination from all around the planet. We're going to spend a lot of time on this retreat talking about what astrology is. From a historical and philosophical perspective, what is divination? What is divination, not just in this tradition, but all over the planet? What kind of things does a divinatory view of the cosmos assume about the nature of reality, about the nature of the soul, and what we're actually doing as practitioners when we practice astrology or when we study it or when we use it for ourselves? So, one of the teachers that I had that made a huge impact on me, and 12 years ago when Jupiter was last in Cancer, I hosted him for a retreat on astrology as a form of divination, is Jeffrey Cornelius. He wrote this book called The Moment of Astrology, Origins in Divination, which is, in my opinion, one of the best books on astrology ever written. This will be something like a preparatory textbook that a lot of students on the retreat I'll recommend read before you come to this course. Over the program for the course of a full week, in the mornings, we're going to be talking about the history, the metaphysics, the philosophy, the ancient mystics, and what they said about the nature of astrology itself. So we're going to think really deeply about what is astrology. Then in the afternoons, we're going to talk about how to connect with an oracle. Connecting with an oracle, connecting with astrology as a divinatory system, in other words, is about the marriage of intuition and being able to listen to the oracle speak while also utilizing the logic of craft. How do you marry those two things together? It's not something we take a lot of deliberate time to talk about as astrologers. So in the mornings, we're talking about history, philosophy, theory of astrology. In the afternoons, we're going to be talking about how to actually develop a living, vibrant relationship with an oracle so that it's informing how you approach the craft of a reading or how you approach the craft of astrology itself, if it's something that you maybe just use only for you and your own spiritual path. Either way, practitioners, hobby students are all welcome. So a lot of hands-on immersive work with charts, with live clients, with different systems of divination, and talking a lot about how to connect with an oracle experientially in our afternoons, where our mornings will be devoted to theory. It's about 30 to 40 hours worth of content that we'll be doing over the course of a week together, which means this is effectively like one of my advanced training programs condensed into a week. It's brand new material, brand new curriculum, doesn't appear anywhere else in the Nightlight programs, and yet everything that this program includes is really a condensation of the underlying philosophy of astrology itself that is a part of all of the Nightlight programs and all of my work as a whole. And again, most of that was deeply inspired by the work of Jeffrey Cornelius, who's I consider him something of a mentor in my life. So that's a bit about what you will learn. If you have questions about what you will learn, you can feel free to email me for more details, info@nightlightastrology.com. Now, I want to talk about the format of the retreat. When you're on this retreat, first of all, you're in a beautiful sort of jungle beach location near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for a week, which means we every day will not just be about theory and experiential, immersive, oracular work, which I'm very excited about. I have a ton of really good curriculum written for us as a group to go through, but in the mornings, we're going to have the option of starting your morning with breath work, yoga, meditation. In the evenings, we'll probably cap our days off with a little bit of centering as well. So my wife, Ashley, who I ran a yoga studio with for a decade, will be with me leading daily meditation and yoga. She is an incredibly good yoga teacher, very grounded and very, wherever your level is at, there'll be something there for you. And that's optional as well. So every day you have a little meditation and yoga. There's healthy food that serves people if you're vegan, vegetarian, or eat meat or whatever. There's options for food. There's a beach. There's a pool. There's some jungle hikes available. So our days will be broken into periods of free time, periods of rest, and periods of focused learning with things like meditation and yoga as options that are there for everyone. We'll also have some other meaningful group exercises that we'll do that will be, again, about how do you connect with an oracle? How do you make a conversation with the oracle a daily part of your life? So that's something of the format that you can look forward to in this beautiful kind of oceanside retreat setting. More information on the website. I'll show you that in a second. Who is this for? Ideally, you are someone who has a background in traditional Hellenistic astrology already. Wherever that comes from, if it's my courses or not, I want people coming to this retreat to have some pretty good solid background in Hellenistic astrology already. Or if you're from within our programs, then as long as you are enrolled in the year 1 program, you don't have to have finished it. You just need to be at least enrolled in it. Then you would be more than welcome. Any alumni from any of our programs would be welcome. And again, people who with some serious background in traditional astrology already, just because I don't want people to come along with maybe a modern background, but zero understanding of Hellenistic. So that would be who I would recommend this for. Spaces are limited and we anticipate the retreat will fill up rather quickly. So I really recommend registering as soon as you can. You also have the early bird rates to help you save. Finally, how do I register? I'm going to take you over to the website and you will find that here, the website, you can find it under the events page. Go to Immersive Retreat, or under the courses, it's our new course called The Oracle Within. When you scroll down, you're going to see everything that the program includes, basically everything I've gone over, maybe a little bit more details and depth there, as well as a little personal note for me that I wrote about why this means so much to me. You'll learn more about Mar de Jade, which is the beautiful retreat center. You can check it out. You're going to book through us. So you don't book through the retreat center, you book through us, and then we take care of it. At the bottom, you're going to find registration options that will be available starting on August 11th. That's today. Right now, as I'm looking at this, we don't have the prices listed yet. It's still kind of under construction. But at the bottom, you'll find different available options for registering. The different options will include different room options, and there's different. So if you want a private room versus maybe sharing a room with someone we'll assign you with that's part of the group, or maybe even a small group dorm room where there's like 5 people are sharing a room and you're comfortable being with other students on the trip, stuff like that. So there'll be some options there for everyone. There's an early bird rate that'll be in effect until October, saves you a little bit of money off the cost. And then also all of the different room options that are available at different price tiers depending on and they go first come first serve in terms of like, so there's some ocean view rooms. The people who book first will get the best. We just go best available first and just run it like that. So anyway, again, as you are looking over anything on the page, you have any questions, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. I hope that this has been helpful. I can't wait to have finally an immersive in-person training program in a beautiful location. It's nice to do things online, but I really love having in-person time available. And I know that you're going to also really enjoy working with Ashley. During the evenings throughout the week, Ashley will also have some little workshops that she'll be offering as options for people that are part of your retreat package that will be on plant spirit medicine topics and how to use different plant teachers to work with different astrological signatures in the chart. You got a difficult Mars, work with this plant. You got a challenged Venus, try this plant. So there's going to be some really fun little add-ons around plant spirit medicine that Ashley, if you know her on my channel, she talks about plants often, will also lead. So anyway, that's it. That's your informational video. I hope that this was useful. Hope to see some of you on the retreat in Mexico next year. Take it easy, everyone.